Well, hello kitties, it's your friendly neighborhood watchman, here with you today to talk about Gina Carano, who shares her thoughts on South Park joining the Panderverse. That's available on Paramount Plus. Gina also spills the beans about how the Disney company asked her to unfollow specific accounts that have negatively criticized Kathleen Kennedy. Can you believe it? Yes, we can. So with that said, let us jump into this article from Bounding Into Comics by our other friend Spencer Backley with the heading Gina Carano weighs in on South Park joining the Panderverse, reveals Disney asked her to unfollow certain accounts because they said bad things about Kathleen Kennedy. You know, KK ain't happy that this news has become public.
Could this year get any f***ing worse?
Thus Cartman, by the way, for those who haven't seen this show, as Kathleen Kennedy from another alternate universe. So to begin, Gina Carano recounts her firing from Disney on the Ben Shapiro Show Sunday Special, episode 111. Cartman Kennedy, voiced by Trey Parker, demands that the next Disney movie has a gay female lead in South Park joining the Panderverse. Given her own personal history with the company and its notorious producer, it should come as no surprise to find that actress Gina Carano has thoughts on a South Park joining the Panderverse special and its criticisms of Disney and Kathleen Kennedy's ruinous obsession with identity politics, offering a rare criticism of the House of Mouse's ongoing creative implosion. Joining the Panderverse begins with Cartman finding himself plagued with nightmares, in which he and the rest of South Park citizens, for no reason and with no explanation, have suddenly been replaced by, quote, diverse women complaining about the patriarchy. The last time I had a dream, I was walking down the school hallway and then I saw Butters, Cartman recounts to a therapist. And that's when I began to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally I wanted to scream and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who's diverse? End quote. But then Kenny's like, it's not our fault. It's because Kathleen Kennedy, he continues, his words becoming ever more panicked by the second. But then Kathleen Kennedy is like, F it, make it more lame. And everyone in town is like, no, please, Kathleen Kennedy, stop ruining everything. But Kathleen Kennedy is all like, put another gay, diverse woman in it, make it more effing lame. And Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And then Bob Iger's all like, no, what's going on with my stocks? No, Kathleen Kennedy, end quote. Yet, while the therapist dismisses these nightmares as nothing more than stress dreams stemming from his fear of being replaced by AI, Cartman soon discovers that they were actually glimpses into the multiverse, the truth becoming apparent to him just as he and his diverse female counterpart, who herself was experiencing the same dreams but in reverse and forcibly swapped into each other's universe. Gina from The Mandalorian, first season. Meanwhile, as both Cartman and their respective Stans, Kyle's and Kenny's, set out to correct this error, Bob Iger and the Disney board come to the realization that the version of Kennedy currently roaming their halls and greenlighting films, a Cartman variant whose core creative principle is put a chick in and make her lame and gay, is not their own. Sure enough, the board soon comes to understand that not only has Kennedy been replaced, but that the situation was caused when a company's overuse of the Panda Stone, an ancient piece of artificial intelligence that could be used to make the same movies over and over again, while appealing to absolutely everyone, tore open a hole in the multiverse, eventually crossing paths on a diverse world of Earth 216b. Kennedy and Cartman call a temporary truce in order to find their way back to their home universe. In doing so, the two are afforded a moment to clear the air, during which the two air their respective grievances over how the other handled their disagreements over the current state of Disney's current catalog, but in particular the Star Wars franchise. The Panderstone worked great for a while, Kennedy tells Cartman, but then came the hate mail. Ugly letters from racists who couldn't stand that some of the Panderstone's rehashes had diverse woman characters in the lead. I decided I would show them. I would start making movies to fight all the bigotry in our society. And that's where the film gets weak, in my opinion, and as others have stated. As the film tries to smooth things over. But I understand the guys at South Park, they are working in that industry. You piss off enough of the wrong people, and their shows won't be distributed. Remember how big tech companies colluded to shut down Parler a few years ago? It's not impossible for the film industry to do something similar, so they can't go ham on everybody. Or they can, but then they'll have to be distributing their own shows, streaming their videos over on their own website. But I digress.
Stay on target.
Back to the article. But instead of doing any real work, I turned to the Panderstone, Kathleen Kennedy then admitted. It made things so much easier. Soon I was using the Panderstone over and over again to try and fight all the ugly feedback, which in turn was growing stronger and stronger. But I was fighting with the wrong tool. I used the Panderstone so much that it became unstable. It opened a portal to multiple universes, and something came through. Turning to this meeting with her Cartman counterpart, Kennedy recalls, at first we fought. I tried to send it back to its universe, but it got the upper hand. It was able to instead to send me to this universe out of its way so it could thrive in ours. Surprisingly, rather than vitriol, Cartman instead meets Kennedy's story with acceptance, admitting that's actually the best explanation I've heard as to why Disney movies all suck now. I understand that maybe we're trying to make a difference, Kathleen, he tells the producer, but you have to admit the last few movies you shit out have been real stinkers. All I ever wanted was to make great entertainment. Believe me, she explains to Cartman in turn, but as soon as you start getting piles and piles of hate mail, endless messages calling you the C word, you can't think straight. So here they go again. They're trying to make Kathleen a victim here. All the while she was acting like a tyrant. In a moment of levity, amidst an otherwise stark discussion, Cartman then admits, well, I'm sorry I wrote all those letters. It was probably a bit much. No, not really. Kennedy then attempts to reassure Cartman. No, I got like 10,000 letters a day. To which he corrects, I was doing more like 12,000 to 13,000, especially after the new Indiana Jones came out. Met with this revelation, Kennedy proceeds to exclaim, then it's you. You're the one who caused all this. F*** you, Cartman fires back. You're the one who caused all this. Offering a defense of her actions, Kennedy then affirms, I wouldn't have tried to fight racism with the Panderstone if you hadn't written all those letters. Prompting Cartman to likewise declare, I wouldn't have written all those letters if you hadn't tried to fight racism with an effing Panderstone. However, rather than continue to argue, Kennedy instead observes, so that's it. That's the connection. I reacted to you and you reacted to me. Realizing himself that I guess we created each other, Cartman then admits to his rival, Mrs. Kennedy, I don't think I've ever said this before in my life, but I'm sorry. I lashed out so hard and used the C word so many times, you didn't really have a choice but to double down. Weak. Offering her own apology, Kennedy then asserts, Eric, I know you care about all things Disney. I'm sorry I was so reckless with the things that you love. It was just lazy.
Let me clear my throat!
It was narcissistic, at times misogynistic, vindictive, and woke. Showing one last moment of humility, Just as a portal back to their universe appears behind them, Cartman closes out their conversation by likewise acknowledging, "I guess just wailing on woke stuff all the time is pretty lazy too." And it's this last exchange in particular which drew Carano's attention, and mine, and many, many other people's. Let me tell you, who otherwise thought that episode was a great send-up on all the woke nonsense going on in our entertainment, be it movies, TV, music, literature, computer games, etc. Retweeting a clip of the scene, which notably cuts just after Cartman's declaration that Kennedy's story was the best explanation I've heard as to why Disney movies all suck now, as shared by the nerd news outlet Geeks and Gamers, Carano declared, "This is the part where KK demands any YouTubers get censored off of YouTube for sharing and laughing at this hilarious episode. She'll have YouTube disable the thumbs down option because of the ratio she'll receive. Then she'll have a publicist ghouls, make sure Variety and Hollywood Reporter run hit pieces about the South Park creators and their families, smearing their names through every useful idiot she has under her thumb who would sell their soul to work for Lucasfilm," said the former The Mandalorian star. She'll activate her online mob to repeat that the South Park creators are racist, bigot, transphobes, and demand the South Park creators publicly apologize by only using words she approves of. And finally, she'll demand that they subject themselves to a re-education course of 45 people in the LGBTQ community Zoom call to sit there and listen of how badly they got their feelings hurt all over a little boop of a South Park episode. Ultimately ending on a cheeky note, Carano sardonically concludes her tweet, "But maybe, just maybe, the jig is up." And that's the retweet we just read from. Unsurprisingly, while Carano's tweet was met with a wave of support and adulation from her fans, it also drew its fair share of criticism from her detractors, most who never worked for Disney, I might add. One such critique, though brief, came from the official Twitter account for the Around the Galaxy podcast, wherein its administrator informed their followers, "In case you were wondering, @Gina Carano has lost her goddamn mind." Not one to take such swings lying down, Carano in turn proceeded to lay into the Star Wars-centric podcast, firing back, "Do you always call a woman crazy just because she has more first-hand experience than you and says something you don't like or understand? Bit misogynistic, don't ya think? Tisk, tisk."
Oh, that's cool.
Exactly what I was saying. They never worked for Disney. She has. Curious if your overlords pay you, or do y'all just go ahead and shove your whole head straight up their ass for free? Ooh. She then asked, "I'm guessing for free. Might want to come out for some fresh air."
Damn!
For some added context, not just you, but for the people reading, one of the things your overlords asked me to do was to unfollow certain accounts because they said bad things about Kathleen Kennedy.
What?
That was a huge red flag for me. If I were the head of one of the most powerful entertainment companies in the world, I would know that haters come with the territory, and that maybe the haters are expressing their thoughts because they actually care. And caring is a good thing, because as long as they care, well, hey, we still have something to work with.
If you make a movie, especially if you make a superhero movie, you have great intentions, but there are always going to be a small yet vocal group of people there can kind of just be toxic.
I understand what you're saying, but when it comes to fans, it is a fan's right to have whatever opinion they want to have. And people are going to be upset because, especially when you're talking about books or games, because you're never going to be the exact person who they had in their head or who they played on Witcher 3, for example. I don't necessarily consider that toxic. I just consider that passionate.
She further posited, maybe we can win their hearts back eventually, and maybe they do have some good things to add to the conversation, which they do and did. And at the very least, they are still buying the product. This is why Henry Cavill didn't take the bait in that interview, where he refused to agree with the interviewer who made the comment about how fans can be toxic. Look at Mando Season 1. Boom, the healing had begun, she then recalled. If you're a proper good leader, you learn how to embrace and communicate, not dictate and silence and demand your actors and directors, unfollow and shame more than half of your fan base and the people who have stuck with the franchise for decades.
The basic thing is a sense of community for us, because we knew everybody at that line, at that theater, at any time, night or day, were fans like us. And we wouldn't be subject to ridicule or disparaging remarks because we're all there for the same thing. This amazing movie that brought us together and made us a fandom to be reckoned with, basically. I mean, how many years later, and I can still be all enthusiastic about it because I still remember how cool that was.
Side note, don't say the Force is female and then allow only the men to express their political views online. In fact, just drop the ridiculous phrase completely. Touché, Gina. One of the problems your overlords are having now is that they've made a lot of people completely stop caring about one of the most beloved franchises in history, all by bullying, pushing aggressive agendas, and trying to silence the people criticizing them. Carano detailed, how are they able to tell stories they don't understand when the ones they identify with are the Empire? They are literally trying to squash the little guys, the rebellion. No wonder the storytelling is struggling. Gina laid the smackdown, dropping atomic truth bombs. They fired and dehumanized people like me who did absolutely nothing wrong. All to virtue signal to people like you, the yes men. But yes men, unfortunately for you and them, do not drive culture, she added. Maybe they were banking on the kids picking up the slack, but one of the best things about this franchise is passing it from generation to share. The competition is too high to throw out something as valuable as that. Why would one generation pass it on when you've disrespected and thrown them away? Your overlords tried to hide behind two opposing fan bases fighting each other instead of taking responsibility, Carano declared. So they encouraged the hate, all while virtue signaling. They are standing up for the minorities, but instead using them as a shield and weapon. Funny enough, just how our government works. Damn, she ain't lying. They think people will forget, and yes, maybe they will. But for this moment, they have heard the people's voice, and it shook them. They're choosing to stick with their weak leadership, who couldn't handle YouTubers saying mean things online, when all it would have taken is a true leader to step in, take the reins, take some responsibility, stop discriminating, apologize about the things that have been done wrong, step completely out of politics, be truly inclusive, and they'd be back in business. Until then, they're stuck with you, the yes men, plummeting stock. This is supposed to be Bob Iger with his plummeting stock. Bringing her lengthy thread to a close, Carano ultimately affirmed, I'm not saying I'm right on all fronts, but I am open-hearted and refused to discriminate based off of powerful people telling me how to think and act. And if there was something I needed to apologize for, I would have in a heartbeat. But I didn't say or do anything wrong. People come up to me daily to shake my hand and thank me for taking a stand, even people who think differently. One thing is true, good leadership makes for a better world, leading to a healthier and happier people and better opportunity.
Chocolate chip.
She concluded, look around. We are watching the devastating effects of what bad leadership can do worldwide. End quote. Wow, wow, wow. What a tweet. Gina Carano. Freaking legend. Well, folks, we've come to the end of this video. What say you about the way Gina just laid the smackdown? That's her first-hand experience. She worked with Disney. She was told to unfollow people. Getting criticized from Disney shows that never worked for the company. But if you agree with Gina, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so that you'll be given a heads up whenever I drop another video. And as always, stay safe and I bid you peace.
Sorry. Been building up for a while. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about this. Sorry. There we are.